To another from around Mijas live stream. I'm going to be here on my own this evening, and I'm going to give just a few seconds for things to kick in and for people to hopefully join me. I would hate to think that I'm going to be talking to myself this evening. Um, the first thing I think I should say is that it's a kind of disclaimer, I suppose, that I am a councillor with the Partido Popular here in Mijas. And what I want to ask you is, what do you think the priority should be for Mijas over the next 4 years? Now, I spent the last 4 years talking to people in Mijas, listening to the problems that they have, listening to the concerns. So I have some ideas already about the kind of things that concern people. But you know, if an election plan is going to be useful, it has to incorporate as far as possible things that you, the residents of Mijas, want to see happen in your municipality over the next 4 years. Now, there have been a number of suggestions have come up already from the posts that I've done, and I'm going to just sort of outline some of these. Um, one of the things that people are concerned about is this whole question of a hospital. Now, it's not really quite as simple just to say we're going to have a hospital. The first thing is it could take anything between 5 and 10 years for a hospital to be actually in operation. Um, Secondly, it's not really the competence of the council to have a hospital. We can certainly talk to the junta about it because it's their responsibility. But there is a general agreement between all the parties that we want to see better primary care services. And I think if that was something that could be pushed forward, then I think that would help to meet at least some of the needs. You know, we have a health center in La Cala. Um, Half of it isn't used. It's only open in the mornings. We are asking for a 24-hour service in La Cala. And that is something that all the parties are agreed on, and we would continue to push that certainly. Another thing which has been on the agenda of Angel Nothal really since before 2019 is, and people have raised this in some of the comments, a residence for the elderly. We have an aging population here in Mijas, and we should have some facility other than we're talking about a public residence for the elderly. There are some private ones around, and they're very good, but not everyone can afford that. So that is another thing that's been suggested, and it's certainly something that we would put our weight behind fully. Another thing that's been coming up from several people is less building of apartments in La Cala. Stop cutting down the trees and forests and preserve the wildlife. Oh, yeah. We've had several conversations about the building, and I've spoken to many of you over the last years when building has been going on and on and on. It's getting bigger and bigger. And I think that this has to be addressed because the infrastructure has not developed at the same rate as the increase in apartments, for example. And I'm not sure how this is done because there are legal issues here. I see quite a few of you are joining me now. Thank you for joining me and not making me feel alone. And please do, give me your comments, what you think the priority should be for Mijas over the next 4 years. Cutting down trees is yeah, for me, I'm a bit of a tree hugger, I have to say. I have a lot of trees here in my garden, and it is distressing to see trees being cut down and houses being built. But this does need to be addressed, in my opinion. Some other comments that I've had from the Facebook post. Okay, we've got stop wasting money on huge parks which nobody wants. No more macro music festivals, which didn't benefit any of the businesses in La Cala, as people were busting from Fuengirola. Well, the macro music festivals, we need to see what the position with that is, because our understanding is that a contract has been signed for in total 5 concerts, totaling €6 million. And just cancelling these things could actually cost us a lot of money. But that we will certainly look into that, because 1.2 million a year could certainly be spent in other places. I think very beneficially. I'm not against concerts, but I'm not entirely sure that it was good value for money for Mijas. People enjoyed it, and I believe it was very well organised. So it's not against concerts in particular, but these are not my comments, by the way. Originally, these are from people who have commented on Facebook posts. What else is there? Ah, yes, the urbanizations. This has been a thing that Angel Nathal has had in his mind since he was mayor, from 2011 to 2015, where he began taking over some of the facilities, like the street lighting and things in the urbanizations, and the council paying for it. But I meet with a lot of people in the urbanizations, and I know that they're very unhappy, feeling that they are the poor relations of Mijas. I've been up Avenida del Golf. I've been around Los Jarales, Calypso, and some of the roads around there are in a shocking state, and nobody seems to be bothered about it. So these are some of the comments that have been made. I hope you've got something to add to that, because I'm very, very keen that uh, we try to incorporate real concerns into the electoral plan, and that these things are not just vote catchers, that these are things that actually start to form the work schedule of the council if we were in government. Um, and would actually meet some of the needs. Yeah, Andy, thank you, Andy. I'm going to just put your comment up here, because yeah, welcome the urbanizations back into the fold, and put an end to the priority for La Cala, Las Lagunas, and the Pueblo. We all pay our taxes. We should get our fair share. I totally agree with you. I live in the countryside, so I'm not a member of an urbanization, but I totally understand why people in urbanizations feel that they are the poor relation. And the mayor did actually state in a council meeting about a year ago that people who buy in the urbanization should not expect the same level of services as those in the three urban nucleuses. Personally, I don't agree with that. I think that, it's been a lot of talk about equality, especially on International Women's Day, and I'm all for equality. But for me, equality has to hit the urbanizations as well. They have to get their share of the taxes that they pay into Mijas. And I think there are lots of ways that can be done. But I'm totally in agreement with you on that, Andy. So, any other comments? Come on, guys, you're there. I can see that you're there. Let me know what you think about this. One of the other things that has been raised, and it's been raised on many occasions by us as a party, is the stabilization of the beaches. Um, Mijas as a whole, and Mijas Costa in particular, survives to a large extent on tourism. And, people who come on holiday down here also want beach tourism. And I wrote an article actually a couple of weeks ago saying that, if you've got a flat tire on your car, you don't just keep putting air in it. You take it and you get it fixed. And this mania that they have of just bringing tons and tons and tons of sand, sometimes twice a year, to top up the beaches, um, is a bit like just putting air in your tire when actually it needs to be fixed. And again, this is not something Mijas can do unilaterally, because the beaches and into the sea actually belongs to central government. But if no one pushes for it, then nothing is going to happen. So this would again be a priority. Looking at the ways that we could preserve the beaches and also some of the buildings that are on the front line. And what you need to remember is that when some of these buildings were built, the beaches went out 100 meters from where they are, and now they're right up to the doorstep, and potentially causing damage to the foundations. Um, so for the houses on the front line, this would be important. But for our tourism, I think good beaches all the year round and protected is certainly something that we would be supporting. We have actually raised this on several occasions over the last 4 years in the council meetings, and they have refused to take it forward. So beaches, residence for the elderly, certainly looking at the building that's going on and seeing how that can be, if not stopped, because we're still working on a plan that was written in 1999. And the areas that were classified for building in 1999 were bought. And a lot of developers have decided this is the time that they want to build on it now. And it's very difficult for the council to say no, because these pieces of land were built as investments. And if the council simply says, no, you can't build on it anymore, then we would have to possibly indemnify these companies for the losses that they have made on their investment. It's a very complicated one, but I think some way needs to be looked at, if not stopping it, certainly slowing it down. Um, Vincent, okay, what have we got here? What can be done to stop Mykonos, and especially Lacana, from turning into one massive modern holiday resort? It feels like there's less left for residents and more for tourists, which is also causing house prices to skyrocket. Totally agree. And when Mario was on with me just a couple of weeks ago, this was a point that he made, and he said, we have to develop. Yeah, tourism is important, but we have to remember there are a lot of people who live here, and actually, it's the people who live here and pay the taxes here that actually keep Mijas going. The businesses, yep, they support families, and they support the tax department, and the inland revenue, and all this are supported by the businesses, which are supported by tourism. But we have to develop, in my opinion, plans that are good for the people who live here, and not just things that are good for tourism. But yeah, the prices of housing around, and I'm going to say particularly on the Costa, but I think throughout Mijas are skyrocketing. And this leads on to another issue, which is, it's called in Spanish VPO, which is uh, protected housing. Basically, it's low cost housing. Now, the council can't just build houses and give them to people. This has to be done in conjunction again with the Junta de Andalucía, but we are committed to looking at ways for, for families, for example, who can stay here and not live with their parents forever, who can afford to get onto the housing market with the pretty pathetic salaries that we sometimes have down here on the coast. So yeah, I totally agree, Vincent, that we need to we need to get this balance between being attractive to tourism, being set up for tourism, but also meeting the needs of the people who live here permanently. Anne, hi Anne. We were talking just a wee while ago. The auditorium, it used to be packed when British acts were allowed to perform. Yeah, I'm not sure what the problem is with the auditorium, but it certainly has not been used to its full capacity. And people who have very successfully in the past put on events there have not been allowed to set up events in the last couple of years. And I can say this, that some of those events organizers waited, shall we say, a very, very long time to be paid for the events that they organized. And some may not even be happy to take on work if the council continues to take 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 months to pay people. So yeah, but the auditorium, I think, is an underused resource. But you know what? We need also to look at the parking in Mijas Pueblo. There were promises made in 2019 by the current government, and they haven't come to any sort of fruition. Okay, we've got some more comments. Okay, I'm going to come back to you in a moment, Anne. Sarah, hi Sarah, thanks for joining us this evening. And Sarah asks, how much of our chaparral is actually going to be changed into concrete now that we have phase 1, 2, and 3 signs appearing? You know, there was an agreement in the council. I think it was about 5 years ago. It was proposed by Mario that part of Chaparral should be designated as an urban forest, and they all agreed that that would be a good thing to do. But they never actually took this proposal forward to the junta. So it looks very much as if most of Chaparral is going to be turned into a concrete jungle. I was up there this morning. It is just a nightmare. But again, we come back to this thing that this land was all designated for building in 1999. And don't forget that, 1999. You know, I started coming to Mijas and to La Cala around about 95. And I can say that in the last 24 years since that urban plan was written, Mijas does not resemble the Mijas of the 1990s in any way whatsoever. This plan should have been rewritten, I think, after 20 years, and it hasn't been. So we're still working on an old plan that doesn't actually reflect the situation in Mijas now. But I find it very sad that we're losing these green areas. And, you know, at the same time, you're increasing the volume of people, increasing the volume of traffic, and losing our lung, which were these green areas in Chaparral. We did protest about this, but we didn't get anywhere with it, I'm afraid. We backed a lot of the locals who really were very sad at the idea of losing all of this and losing these green areas. Another comment from Anne. Thanks, Anne. We need to stop destroying local wildlife. Look at the plight of the wild boars who are forced to come into towns and find food because we've commandeered their natural habitat. Absolutely. And I don't like this. This is a personal view. The approach that is proposed of culling the wild boar. I'm personally, I'm not in favor of this whatsoever. You know, the reason that they've come further and further down is that from 2016, 2017 onwards, they stopped taking food and water up into the Sierras, which is where they're actually happier. They're not really social animals. Because these are not pure wild boar, they're not in every case you know, the kind of level of danger that we think of wild boars. But, you know, they don't come down here because they want to cohabit with us. They come down here because we have taken away their natural habitat, and we've stopped taking food and water into the Sierras, where they are actually very happy to exist. And yeah, so, you know, this kind of follows on from what you were asking, Sarah. You know, we're cutting down the wild out, we're concreting over it, and then we complain that the wild boar are coming down um, to where we live. But, you know, their survival instinct is just like the survival instinct of any other animal, and it is concerning. And we would certainly like to see food and water being taken back into the Sierras, and some way of catch and release to take them into the Sierras. And also, you know, there's also the possibility, if we can catch and release, of sterilization of some of the females, which would stop the numbers growing exponentially, because there are no natural predators. But we've made a mess of this, in my opinion. Um, okay, we've got another comment from Arita. Oh, when will Theo Mijas be up and running once more? It was an excellent concept, training students for tourism industry, and the hotel is sorely missed. Yes, and yes, Arita. I actually taught in Theo for 5 years, so I'm very familiar with the way it operated. Um, again, this is not simply within the hands of the council, because although the land that is built on belongs to the council, and it has a percentage share in Theomicas, the buildings and everything associated with it belongs to the Junta de Andalucía. But, you know, it's not to say that there couldn't be some agreement come to with the council and the junta, with the council actually contributing, because a lot of these people that trained in Theo, and as I say, I spent 5 years teaching in Theo Mijas, the local young people. Um, I strangely enough, I taught German in Theo Mijas. Um, so we had a Scotsman teaching German to Spaniards, but actually a number of my students, even with a little bit of German after a year of classes, actually decided to take up jobs in Germany and to move out. And some of them are still there working in Germany. Um, but yeah, it was a fantastic concept. It was a center of excellence. It was extremely well run. And I have to say, it wasn't run by the Junta de Andalucía. It was run by a private company, and it was very well run, very well managed. The teachers who were there from the tourism industry were people working in the tourism industry. So we had a housekeeper from one of the big five-star hotels in Marbella who taught housekeeping. We had people who managed golf courses, teaching golf course management. It was an excellent concept. And as you say, the hotel is up and is very much missed here in Mijas. But actually, it has been completely vandalized, because, again, like the Hippodromo, there's been no security put on after it was closed down. And this the closure of Theo was a real cock up by the then Junta de Andalucía, who basically mismanaged the monies from the EU coming in, and they had to close it down. But yeah, I would be the first one to say that Theo Mijas needs to be up and running again. And you know what? There are great facilities inside Theo Mijas as well. That there are lecture theatres, that there are spaces that can be used by the community, and these are missed as well. So I would certainly back that, Arita, that they are. It's a facility that I think is really missed here in Mijas. Um, Anne Marie. Okay, what have we got here? How is traffic going to manage as La Cala and the surrounding area is going to cope with the development grows? It's struggling now with one road closed. Absolutely. I haven't had my car in La Cala. I think I had to pass through this morning to get up to near the Podromo, but I haven't been in La Cala for months with my car. Um, absolutely, La Cala, even before this road was closed, was almost at collapse at certain points in the day. Um, my view, and this is my view, and I would certainly push for this. If we were in government, there needs to be, first of all, a proper traffic management plan for La Cala, because it's nonsense that all the cars coming from BP, for example, have to go all the way through La Cala to get back onto the A7. Something needs to be done with that. Maybe there needs to be another ramp onto the A7 as well. There are some potentially simple solutions that needs to be done in conjunction with central government, with the DGT. But yeah, La Cala has to have some kind of traffic management plan. Also talking to some of the businesses down at the really from the boulevard down towards the tower. They would be very keen to see, at the very least during the summer, a pedestrianised zone in that area. So we're talking about Calle Torremolinos, the other road which goes from the council office, I've forgotten the name of it, down towards the tower, and that area being, other than for residents and deliveries, that it's essentially a pedestrianised zone. Um, but yeah, there's an awful lot that needs to be done in terms of La Cala. If not, people are just not going to want to come down here. I think there needs to be a serious look at how the traffic is managed, because, yeah, we've had this one road closed that was supposed to be finished by the end of February. There's no signs of it being finished yet. They haven't even started some of the paving and tarmacking work. Um, so that's one road closed. But even with that road open, there were still times where La Cala was chaotic, and I hate driving through La Cala, um, just for that reason. So yeah, there needs, in my opinion, to be there needs to be a study done, and needs to be a good traffic management plan to avoid the day-to-day chaos, especially when schools are coming out. Sometimes it can take 20 minutes to get through La Cala, and it's only a 1-minute drive. Sarah, yeah, the I remember the ex-administrator at the Hippodrome back in 2000 telling me the blueprint for Mijas building in general was enormous. Maria del Mar wasn't wrong. Yeah, this was the plan that was written in 1999, Sarah, and it hasn't been revised, and I think that is a immense oversight. We need to look at where we are now and how we plan from now, in my opinion. And I know that some of my colleagues, we've spoken about this, and I think they feel there needs to be a creative way found to, well, first of all, rewrite the PGOU, which is the general plan for urban planning, and it needs to be relooked at in the light of where we are now, not of where we were in 1999. It can't, I live 2 kilometers outside of La Cala, and it used to be 2 kilometers to get to the nearest building. Now I'm less than 1 kilometer away. It's creeping up even at this side where I live. Um, I've got a comment from Vicky, and I can't see Vicky. Oh, here we are. Hi, Vicky. There's so many comments. It's great. Um, okay, nothing will improve if we don't get in the next elections. How many are willing to vote these people out? Well, I'm not a very good politician, because I find it hard to say vote for me or vote for us. But I do want to see I do want to see big changes made in Mijas. I want to see more accountability. I want to see the money being spent on the things that people expect. I want to see I want to see our environment, our day to day. This I call them the small things, but these small things are the things that really get on our wick. The pothole in the road, the empty plots, that nobody bothers about. They're overgrown. They're a fire hazard. All of these things. I think these need to be looked at. And in the last 4 years, I'm sorry, but they just simply haven't been. Yeah, we've had a big rush on, you know, fixing things in the last 3 months, but we're all a bit stupid because we don't realize this is because there's an election coming up, and the current government want to show how good they are. Well, if they were really good, they would have been doing this for the last 4 years, and I'm sorry that they haven't. And Susanna, thanks for joining us. And I know that Susanna has interest here in Mijas, was Vicky's daughter, but is joining us from Mallorca at the moment. Totally agree with you, Vicky Anderson. Um, it's up to us to check the work done by previous elected party. And if they have not delivered what they promised, then take action. Well, we know they haven't delivered what they promised. I've done a series of videos on this, and it's very clear that of the 15 things that they promised, none of them are actually finished. There's a swimming pool that's been started. No idea when it's going to be finished. The Senda Litoral to Fuengirola from La Cala has gone out to tender, but I'm sorry, it's an abortion of a project. Wanting to run part of it alongside the barrier of the A7, which I think, yeah, fine. If we want to use a cycle track, that's one thing, but it's not the kind of environment I think that people want to go to relax and enjoy the coastal area. Um, but other than that, none of the election promises have been carried out. Um, I saw another comment there from Vincent, no, from Andy. Let me just go back up there, Andy. Uh, I really appreciate you joining in this conversation. I think it's really important. Here we are, Andy. Andy agrees. Unless we make better use of the assets we already have, rather than develop new ones, such as the park. I totally agree. We've got dog parks around here which are just in a shocking state, that they haven't been looked after. The one up in Calahonda had all the trees cut down and cut down all the shade that existed in that area. Yeah, we look after what we have first, before we start spending on huge projects. I mean, this project is going to cost tens of millions, and there's been nothing published as to what the maintenance and running costs of this park is going to be. There are going to have to be more bridges built across the river for better access to it. They haven't been built into the cost either. So, well, you know what I think about it. I think, frankly, for me, it's a waste of 38 million. We did ask that they would postpone taking this project forward until after the elections, so that if a new party is actually in government, or new parties are in government, then they would have the option to go ahead with this or not. I'm not sure if it has gone out to tender yet, but I suspect that they're planning to do that, and make that commitment. Um, okay, Sarah. Yes, the new pavements from the Jockey Villas towards the Hippodrome are a ridiculously wide waste of money. um, Using sets plus aluminium fencing in a rural area which was previously coloured green, which makes the area look like the approach to a laboratory. Yeah, but an idiot who passed the use of these materials, not rural at all. I have no idea. You know, there are places that need pavements. For example, when you come out of Mijas Pueblo and you're heading towards Osunillas, Buena Vista, there's a stretch there that people actually walk along with no pavement. There are other areas in Playa Marina with no pavements, and they've built this awful pavement in an area that you very rarely see anybody actually walking along. So yeah, I what can I say? I just don't know. I don't know what goes on in people's minds sometimes. Um, and oh, you are such a cynic. The speed with which they operate, I'm not sure we'll ever see the new park finished. Well, maybe not in our lifetimes. Um, yeah. What can I say? Who have we got here? This is from Block Drains. I wish we could get new pavements outside our apartments in Riviera del Sol opposite Riviera Holiday. Yeah, listen, there are so many areas of Mijas. You know, excuse me. I was talking to some people just last week, trying to sort out a problem they have with a building license. They live in an area. It's a cul-de-sac. So at the end of this cul-de-sac, strangely enough, there's a turning circle for cars to get back out again because there's no other exit from it. They did some building work, which was all above board, all licensed, everything. And then suddenly, when they're waiting for the certificate, basically signing it all off so they can get their license signed off, they're told that they've got to build about 5 meters of pavement around this cul-de-sac at the turning circle, which is there's no pavement around any of the other part of this cul-de-sac, and I don't know. It just seems crazy. Um, okay, we've got another comment on the yeah on from Block Drains Are Us. We've been told we have to pay for it if we want it done. Yeah, this seems to be the standard reply. But you know, this is an issue about the way that urbanizations were set up in the first place. Originally, they were set up to be self-sufficient. And I have seen this in writing. They are supposed to be self-sufficient, but you know, when you're charging people taxes, and usually higher taxes, whether it's in EB or whether it's in the rubbish collection, the taxes are very often higher in the urbanizations, plus you have your community costs, plus you have very often an EUC, which you're also paying into. I'm sorry, I think that, you know, pavements for the safe movement of pedestrians really needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed in a lot of areas, especially when some of these areas are on trunk roads. They are through roads. They are public roads. They're not private areas. But I guarantee you, if you wanted to do any kind of thing like, I don't know, rebuild the wall at the end of your property, they would say, yes, you can rebuild it, but you have to build a pavement as well. So yeah, it is certainly a problem. It's a problem for a lot of people. Um, okay. And Anne's got to be in her bonnet because she lives up this way. Sarah, we even got zebras every 50 meters with bins on the other side. I did notice that. I drive through these nearly every day, and if I see one pedestrian per week along these, I'm being generous. Yeah, we've also spoken about that, and you know, we fight. You know, I was up in El Coto, La Cerezuela, um, several months ago, where an elderly gentleman who actually worked in the Indian restaurant was taking the rubbish across the road. He got knocked over on the zebra crossing. The lights were out, the street lights were out, and you couldn't even hardly see the zebra crossing during the day. I asked for it to be repainted, and the message I got back was, "There's nothing wrong with it." So, you know, in an area which is heavily transited by pedestrians. They wouldn't even repaint the zebra crossing. We were told there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly visible, including the fact that the lights had been out for weeks, the street lights. Yet you go along this new road, the Hippodromo, and the zebra crossings every 50 meters, and frankly, no pedestrians. Yeah. That's it. I've opened a can of worms asking for suggestions from us. No, this is not a can of worms, Anne. You know, because I think this is my view. As a counsellor, I work for you. I work for you guys. And if I'm not trying to solve your problems and make your life in Mijas better, then I'm not doing my job. My job is not politicking. My job is not arguing with people in the council meetings to see who's smarter than who, or to see who can catch who out. My job is trying to fix the problems for you. Um, I get paid a 50% salary as a councillor in opposition. Um, and you know, the council doesn't pay my salary. You guys pay my salary. I work for you. And I think that cans of worms need to be opened from time to time. And saying to Sarah that these benches are a joke. People don't use the path, so I sit on the damn bench. Yeah, yeah. Um, what can one say? And we have Jose, who said hi, is just joined. Well, yeah. Hi, Jose. Thanks for joining us. Listen, I've got all of these all of these comments, including the ones on my my Facebook page. They're all there. I'm going to put them all into a document, because there's a lot of overlap here, I think, with the kind of things that people want. And it shouldn't be up to governments to decide what people want. We, the people, should decide what we want, and the government should find ways of putting these things into practice. I'm sorry, you may call me naive. Yeah, technically I'm a politician, but I work for the people who pay my salary. Um, I'm I will support and will continue to support Anca Nothal and the Partido Popular, because I think they did a fantastic job in these 4 years that they had. 4 years out of over 40 years. But, I don't even work for a political party. I work for the people of Mijas from within a political party. And that doesn't always sit comfortably with people, but that's the way it is. Sorry, I've just seen your comments, Sarah. The small issue of newly planted trees, a path to nowhere, and a bridge, and a couple of benches for ghosts to sit on. That's what Anne was replying to. Yeah. Um, well, do we have anything? Okay. I'm not going to fill in the asterisks here. And stop wasting an absolute fortune on these statues. The man with the thumb bomba in Mijas is an embarrassment. I would have to agree with that. Yeah, I think it's nice to do some of these things, but Andy's saying it was the walking man. Thank you, Andy. You just saved my hide there. I don't want to get deplatformed from from YouTube. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine to develop, if you like, the cultural side of Mijas, but not when potholes in the roads are not getting fixed, and not when election promises are not being fulfilled. That is my opinion. You do what you do what you say you're going to do first, and then if all of these things are done and there are other things that you can spend money on, then fine. But my choice would always be to to first of all concentrate on what we've agreed to do. That is our commitment. That is our contract, in my opinion, with the people. Our contract is the electoral plan. And when we have a government that hasn't fulfilled any of its electoral plans, they've broken that contract, in my opinion. And I would push and push and push, if I'm in government, that we meet the electoral commitments that we pull together. And many of these things will be built into it. I have absolutely no doubt. Well, Andy was going to suggest the working man, but he's never witnessed one. Yeah, I think that's enough about the statue of Mijas. If you don't know what we're talking about, you need to go up there and look for yourself. I will say no more about it. Listen, we're a lot of people joining in, a lot of comments. I really appreciate it. I haven't been on my own, and I really appreciate that as well. Still a lot of you tuned in right at the moment. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for your participation and your comments. My commitment is to Anna's saying happy to make me laugh. I need some laughs these days, Anna, as you do, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Anne, and thank you also to Sarah. Thanks, Paul. Always informative, very helpful. We try our best, and also to Peter. I know you join us most weeks, Peter. I really appreciate it. Nice to see you the other day, to get a chance to chat to you as well. So I will pull these together into a document, and they will be presented to the party to look at how we can incorporate these things into our electoral plan. And just before I go, I have to say to all our Irish friends, for tomorrow, and I see that St. Paddy's Day is no longer St. Paddy's Day, it's now St. Paddy's weekend. There's going to be a lot of drinking. I hope the Guinness has been stacked up. Have a great day tomorrow, to all our Irish friends and all of those who are just Irish for the day. And have a great weekend, folks. And Daniela, hopefully, will be back with me. She's got another nursery flu thing from a little boy. Hopefully, she'll be back with us next week. Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for participating. And don't remember, if you see me down the street, please stop and say hello. Take care, everyone.